In Part 1, we learned that the term sustainable development arose from the 1987 Brundtland Commission report, Our Common Future. We learned further that the 1992 Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro produced a document called Agenda 21, which contained 40 chapters of policy recommendations signed by 179 nations, including the United States. Finally, we learned that Agenda 21 was brought to the United States in 1993 by the creation of the President's Council on Sustainable Development. The President's Council on Sustainable Development infused every agency of the federal government with the principles and recommendations contained in Agenda 21. Moreover, grants were awarded to local governments and to non-government organizations to extend sustainable development to virtually every community. Grants to non-government organizations have been especially effective in spreading sustainable development. Since 1997, the American Planning Association has received nearly $4 million. The Sustainable Resources Center has received nearly $10 million. And the Institute for Sustainable Communities has received more than $66 million. Hundreds of NGOs were funded to launch the visioning process in cities and towns and communities across the country. Typically, an NGO, or sometimes an agency of local government, will begin the visioning process by carefully selecting representatives from various stakeholder groups to serve as the visioning committee or council. Those chosen to serve on this council are usually well vetted and known to support the goals of sustainable development. The visioning process consists of a series of meetings in which a trained facilitator leads the group of stakeholder representatives to suggest goals for the community that will create the best possible future. These suggestions are typically written on a chalkboard and then organized into categories. Since Agenda 21's 40 chapters and the hundreds of policy recommendations from the PCSD cover virtually every aspect of human existence, the Visioning Council's ideas are easily organized into categories addressed by sustainable development documents. Once the goals are identified and organized, the next step is to develop consensus. Consensus is not agreement. Consensus is the absence of expressed opposition. For example, a typical goal might be to preserve open space. The facilitator does not ask the group to agree, because it may provoke questions. How much open space? Where would it be? How would it be acquired? Instead, the facilitator asks for no response. He might say, does anyone think we should not preserve open space? Anyone who answers yes to this question would look ridiculous and would be marginalized. This is the purpose of asking negative response questions. It eliminates opposition. To learn much more about the consensus process, please visit the Sustainable Development section of the Sovereignty International website. Once the goals have been identified and organized and opposition eliminated, the document becomes the Your Town Vision for 2020. The vision becomes the agenda for the next phase of the process, the development of Your Town's 2020 Action Plan. Usually, the group will be divided into committees to figure out how to achieve the goals within the purview of each stakeholder's area of interest. A well-trained facilitator already knows where to find the answers to all the how-to questions. Agenda 21 and the PCSD's Sustainable America. Agenda 21 is the Bible for sustainable development.